Okay, so you're curious about winding machine operation.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of like we're discovering this hidden world inside all the gadgets and gizmos we use
Right.
every day. We got your intel right here,
Okay.
career guide, some info on RoleCatcher, and let me tell you, this is way more fascinating than it might sound at first.
It really is. We interact with perfectly wound spools of everything,
Great.
from thread to fiber optic cable daily, but rarely do we stop and think about the skilled hands behind that precision.
It's like clockwork, but for anything that needs controlled winding.
Yeah.
And you've decided to dive in, maybe even picturing yourself in that role, well, hold on to your hard hat.
Okay.
Because this career guide says that a winding machine operator doesn't just wrap things, it's about calibrating tension, adjusting to different materials, almost like an intricate dance between the human and machine.
And it's not all quiet workshops either.
Right.
The guide paints a picture of bustling factory floors, the rhythmic hum of machinery.
Oh, wow.
Definitely a hands-on environment where you be on your feet mastering those skills.
Now, what I found fascinating was this idea of setting up a winding machine. It's not just pushing a button.
Right.
We're talking about selecting the right spindles for the material, calibrating the winding speed, the tension, almost like tuning an instrument to hit those perfect notes.
And the guide mentions some materials can be particularly tricky.
Really?
Imagine working with delicate wire, thinner than a human hair. Precision is key. One wrong move, and, snap, you're troubleshooting a tangle that would impress even the most seasoned knitter.
You're telling me. And speaking of levels, this career path isn't flat.
Right.
It's like you're leveling up in a video game, going from loading and assisting to eventually becoming the winding whisperer who can troubleshoot anything.
And here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The guide highlights that as you progress, it's not just about operating a single machine.
Right.
Senior operators can be responsible for evaluating and implementing new technologies,
Wow.
streamlining entire processes, almost like they've become conductors of a well-oiled winding orchestra.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind, but it makes sense, right? You're not just doing the task.
Yeah.
You're understanding the whole system, which brings me to something else the guide touched on, adaptability. With technology evolving at lightning speed, a winding machine operator needs to be a bit of a tech whiz, too.
Absolutely. This isn't your grandfather's factory job anymore. You've got to be comfortable with digital interfaces.
Wow.
Potentially even programming,
Right.
constantly learning and evolving as the industry does.
It sounds like a career that keeps you on your toes,
Yeah.
both mentally and physically.
Right.
So let's say you're ready for this challenge. You're polishing your resume, and that's where RoleCatcher enters the picture, right?
Precisely. Think of RoleCatcher as your digital career coach, especially in this digital age,
Right.
where algorithms can make or break your application.
And this is where things get really interesting. They talk about beating the automated recruiter, which honestly sounds a bit intimidating.
It's like a game, but the stakes are real.
Right.
Imagine your resume going head-to-head with hundreds of others,
Yeah.
all vying for that coveted interview slot. RoleCatcher claims their AI can analyze job descriptions
Okay.
to identify those crucial keywords that will make your application stand out, like a digital tailor, ensuring your resume fits the job perfectly.
That's wild. So
Yeah.
instead of mass applying and hoping for the best,
Yeah.
you're strategically targeting each opportunity, tailoring your resume to highlight those skills most in demand.
Exactly. And here's a fascinating tidbit from RoleCatcher.
Okay.
They emphasize that while technical skills are crucial in winding machine operation,
Right.
employers are also hungry for problem-solving abilities, adaptability, and even communication skills, especially as you climb the ranks.
So it's not just about what you can do with your hands. It's also about how you think, adapt, and even lead others. It's like this hidden layer of soft skills that can make or break your success in this field.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And this is where the guide and RoleCatcher align beautifully.
Okay.
They both emphasize that while technology is transforming the industry, those uniquely human skills remain invaluable.
It's like this career requires this blend of old school craftsmanship and cutting edge tech savviness, right?
Yeah.
You're not just an operator, you're a problem solver, a tech enthusiast, even a bit of a teacher as you climb those ranks.
Right.
And speaking of climbing, the guide lays out this fascinating progression.
Okay.
From newbie to seasoned pro.
Yeah, it's like a journeyman's path, really.
Yeah.
You start as an apprentice, learning the ropes.
Literally.
quite literally loading materials, watching, absorbing everything.
Right.
The guide even has an anecdote from a seasoned operator who remembers spending weeks just practicing threading different gauges of wire through the machine.
Wow.
Talk about attention to detail.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that old saying, practice makes perfect, but in this case, it's about precision and patience.
Right.
So you've mastered the basics. What's next on this winding road to expertise?
That's where you step into the role of a junior operator.
Okay.
You're not just assisting anymore. You're independently setting up the machine, selecting the correct settings, troubleshooting those everyday hiccups.
Right.
Think of it like graduating from making toast to baking a multi-tiered cake. The core skills are there, but the complexity and the potential for things to go deliciously wrong are amplified.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal.
Yeah.
There's challenge and growth baked into every step.
Right.
But I imagine this is also where the pressure's on, right?
Yeah.
You're responsible for quality control.
Right.
Making sure those spools are wound to perfection, no room for tangled threads here.
Absolutely. The guide stresses that at this stage, a keen eye is crucial.
Oh, right.
You're not just feeding material into the machine. You're inspecting for consistency, identifying even the slightest imperfections.
Wow.
It's like being a detective.
Okay.
Searching for clues, only your magnifying glass is trained on miles of precisely wound material.
You've got to have eagle eyes. But it's not just about spotting errors.
Yeah.
It's also about understanding why they're happening.
Right.
Like, is it the machine, the material, or maybe even something the operator did talk about, problem-solving skills?
Exactly. And this is where experience turns into expertise.
Okay.
The guide mentions that experienced operators can often diagnose issues just by the sound of the machine.
Really?
Like a mechanic knowing a car's engine trouble just by listening.
So you're not just a winding machine operator, you're developing a sixth sense
Right.
and intuition for this intricate process.
Precisely.
Right.
And as you continue to hone those skills, you reach what the guide calls the experienced operator level.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because you're not just responsible for your own output.
Right.
You're often tasked with training and mentoring those newcomers,
Okay.
passing on that hard-won wisdom.
Ah, so now you're the sage of the winding world.
Yeah.
The master passing on their knowledge to the next generation.
Right.
I can see how this role would appeal to someone who enjoys teaching and sharing their expertise.
And the guide gives a fantastic example.
Okay.
They interviewed an experienced operator who talked about the satisfaction of seeing a new recruit go from fumbling with the controls to confidently operating the machine.
Wow.
It's about paying it forward, building up the next generation of winding wizards.
Okay, I love that winding wizards, but it sounds like the learning never really stops.
Right.
Even at this level.
Absolutely. The guide mentions that experienced operators are often at the forefront of implementing new technologies.
Oh, really?
They might be the ones testing out new software, figuring out how to integrate it into their workflow, even training their colleagues on these updates.
It's like they're beta testers for the future of winding. Always adapting, always evolving. But there's one more stage, right?
Yes.
What's the pinnacle of this winding career path?
The guide calls it the senior winding machine operator, but honestly, I think Winding Guru has a better ring to it.
Okay.
Because at this level, you've seen it all, done it all, and probably even invented a few techniques along the way.
Okay, winding guru it is. So what sets these gurus apart? What wisdom have they gleaned from years of experience?
They've gone from mastering, individual machines to overseeing entire departments, sometimes even like multiple production lines. They're the ones called upon to optimize workflows, troubleshoot those really tricky problems, even advise on new equipment purchases.
So they've become the go-to experts, the ones you consult when you need that deep knowledge and experience. I bet they've got some stories to tell.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
The guide mentions one senior operator who helped redesign a whole section of their factory floor to improve efficiency and ergonomics for the team.
Wow.
They went from winding expert to a workflow consultant overnight.
That's amazing. It really highlights how this career path isn't just about technical skills. It's about leadership, innovation, and really understanding the big picture.
Exactly. And the guide emphasizes that at this senior level, communication and people skills are just as important as, technical know-how. You're mentoring new hires, collaborating with other departments, maybe even presenting ideas to management.
It's like this career path winds its way from the factory floor to the boardroom, each stage building on the last. So for our listener out there, the one intrigued by this hidden world of winding machine operation, what's the key takeaway? The one thing they should remember from this deep dive?
I think it's this, while we often take for granted those, perfectly wound coils and spools that power our world, there's this, intricate dance of human skill and technological precision behind the scenes. And this career path offers a fascinating blend of, hands-on craftsmanship, problem solving, and even leadership potential for those willing to, learn the ropes, so to speak.
And let's not forget, with platforms like RoleCatcher, navigating this career path is becoming more accessible than ever. You can tailor your resume, highlight those in-demand skills, and connect directly with employers searching for the next generation of winding wizards.
It's an exciting time to be in this field. And who knows, maybe our listener will soon be spinning their own success story in the fascinating world of winding machine operation.
Now, wouldn't that be a fascinating twist?